the heart of a bustling coastal city, murmurs filled the air about the enigmatic disappearance of the cargo ship, the Seafarer. Laden with precious goods and crewed by seasoned sailors, this ship had seemingly vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. Who better to unravel this maritime mystery than Detective James, renowned for his sharp wit and keen investigative skills? Upon arriving at the docks, the scent of the sea and the chilling breeze filled Detective James's senses. A weathered seaman, Captain Reynolds, greeted him. His face was etched with concern as he began to explain the situation. "Detective James," he started, "our journey began like any other, with a valuable cargo destined for the neighboring port. But midway, the Seafarer simply vanished from our radar. We've combed every possible area, but there's no sign of her or her crew." Detective James scanned the dock, his gaze falling upon the anxious faces of the crew and the curious onlookers, their whispers echoing in the salty air. He knew he had to start his investigation by speaking to those who last saw the Seafarer before it disappeared into the abyss. His first stop was the Harbormaster's office, where he met Sarah, a young clerk in charge of tracking ship movements. With a nervous tremor in her voice, she recounted the events leading up to the disappearance of the Seafarer. "We received a distress signal from the ship, indicating engine failure and asking for immediate assistance. But before we could act, the signal cut off, and the Seafarer vanished from our radar." Detective James studied the logs, jotting down the coordinates of the last known location of the distress signal. A plan began to form in his mind. He knew he had to visit the site to search for clues that might shed light on this eerie disappearance. As Detective James surveyed the worried faces of the crew and the anxious chatter of onlookers, he decided to start his investigation. Detective James's first stop was the Harbormaster's office. A place teeming with activity, this office was the nerve center of the port, keeping track of every ship that came and went. It was here he met with Sarah, the young diligent clerk responsible for monitoring ship movements. Sarah was a beacon of information. She recounted the disconcerting events leading up to the Seafarer's disappearance. "We received a distress signal from the ship," she explained, her voice trembling slightly. "They reported an engine failure and requested immediate assistance. But before we could dispatch help, the signal abruptly ended and the ship disappeared from our radar." Detective James, with his keen investigative skills, scrutinized the logs meticulously. His sharp eyes traced over the records, seeking any inconsistency, any clue that could unravel the mystery. The coordinates of the last known location of the Seafarer were clearly marked, a distress signal hanging in the void. Sarah provided more insight. "The sudden loss of signal and disappearance from the radar was highly unusual. Ships don't just vanish into thin air." Her earnest concern was evident, a mirror reflecting the worries of the entire dock. With every piece of information, the puzzle of the missing ship became more complex, more intriguing. The distress signal, the sudden disappearance, the worried faces of the Harbormaster's office. All these elements painted a picture of a mystery that was begging to be solved, and Detective James was just the man for the job. His meeting with Sarah concluded, Detective James took one last look at the bustling Harbormaster's office. His mind was spinning with questions, theories, possibilities, but he knew that speculation would get him nowhere. It was time for action. With the coordinates of the distress signal in hand, Detective James decided to visit the location, a sense of unease settling over him. The cold sea breeze seemed to carry whispers of the mystery, and the foggy horizon seemed to hide secrets of the Seafarer. As he stepped onto a rescue vessel, the adventure was just beginning. As Detective James's rescue vessel neared the coordinates, they spotted something eerie, a ghostly silhouette looming in the mist. It was the Seafarer, its once vibrant hull, now a pallid shadow of its former self, adrift and abandoned in the heart of the sea. Stepping onto the deck, Detective James felt an uncanny chill, as if the ship itself was echoing the fear and desperation of its vanished crew. The ship was eerily silent, save for the creaking of the hull and the wind whistling through the rigging. The corridors were empty, save for the echo of their footsteps, a haunting reminder of the crew's sudden disappearance. In the captain's cabin, a logbook lay open, the ink barely dry. The entries detailed the journey, the engine failure, and a series of strange occurrences that unsettled the crew. The last entry sent a shiver down James's spine. It spoke of a spectral figure stalking the corridors, sowing fear and dread among the crew, a ghostly presence driving them to the brink of madness. Undeterred, Detective James delved deeper into the bowels of the ship, his flashlight cutting through the gloom like a lighthouse in the storm. In the cargo hold, he discovered a hidden compartment, a secret cache of smuggled artifacts. The ship's precious cargo was not just goods for trade, but treasures stolen from the sea. As James prepared to leave, a sound echoed through the ship, a haunting melody that seemed to seep from the very bones of the Seafarer. It drew him back onto the deck, the notes dancing on the wind, a siren song calling him towards the sea. Just as he was about to leave, a haunting melody echoed through the ship, leading him back onto the deck. The moonlight danced on the waves, casting a spectral glow over the deserted ship. And in the silence of the night, the ghost ship whispered its secrets, ready to reveal the truth behind its mysterious disappearance. On the deck, under the shimmering moonlight, he saw her, the ghostly figure of a woman, her ethereal form glowing in the darkness. The phantom's luminescence seemed to dance with the sea's waves, casting an eerie yet entrancing glow. Her eyes held centuries of stories, tales of tempests and tranquility, of mariners and mysteries. She opened her mouth, and her voice was the whisper of the ocean breeze, the lullaby of the tides. "I am the spirit of the sea," she said, her voice resonating with a profound sadness. "The artifacts aboard this ship were stolen from my depths, torn from their resting place in the heart of the ocean. In my wrath, I cursed the vessel to wander aimlessly, a spectral reminder of its transgressions." The spirit spoke of the ship's crew, driven to madness by her haunting presence, leaving the ship adrift and abandoned. She spoke of the artifacts, relics of a time long past, their removal causing a disturbance in the sea's mystical balance. Detective James stood, riveted by her tale. His mind raced, connecting the dots from the captain's log, the distress signal, and now, the spirit's narrative. He realized that the ghostly figure haunting the ship was not a malevolent force, but a protector of the sea's treasures. Her curse was a form of justice, a retribution for the theft of the sea's sacred artifacts. The spirit's tale was a revelation, a missing piece of the puzzle that brought clarity to the perplexing case of the Seafarer's disappearance. It was a tale of greed and retribution, of an offense against the mysterious forces of the sea and their swift justice. Detective James listened, captivated by her tale, realizing that the ghostly presence was not malevolent but a guardian of the sea seeking justice. His next task was clear: to return the stolen artifacts to their rightful place in the depths of the sea, and in doing so, lift the curse from the Seafarer. With newfound resolve, Detective James vowed to return the artifacts to their rightful place and lift the curse from the Seafarer. This was not just another case for James, it had become a mission to right the wrongs, to restore balance, and to bring justice to the spirit of the sea. He knew he had a daunting task ahead, but he was not deterred. His determination was as vast as the ocean, as deep as its depths, and as unwavering as its currents. In the heart of a bustling coastal city, whispers of the ghost ship, the Seafarer, had been replaced with hushed tales of the spirit of the sea, the guardian of the ocean's treasures. The ship's mysterious disappearance, the eerie distress signal, the ghostly silhouette in the mist, they were all pieces of a puzzle that Detective James had painstakingly put together. His investigation led him from the anxious faces on the dock to the last distress signal from the ship, the ghostly figure haunting the crew to the hidden compartment with the smuggled artifacts. Every clue, every testimony, every eerie echo in the ship's empty corridors had led him to a truth that was as haunting as it was fascinating.